Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Unmasking Motherhood podcast. I'm Beth Moore, a conscious parenting and self compassion coach for moms, and it's so good to have you back here tuning in today. I am here with Becca Holmes, a friend of mine that I met while living in Las Vegas, and I can't wait for you to get to hear more of her mothering story and then a juicy take on social media. So stay tuned for the journey that we're about to go on. I want to start with having Becca introduce herself, and it's really special to have you on. And whenever I first connected with you at one of the mother circles, I was just like,
Yeah.
Becca is super cool. I was told she was going to be, but you know, sometimes when you meet someone, the expectations are so high from the person that you're like, oh. No, Becca, like you exceeded them. And I was like, I just want to get in your brain and hear more of what you think. Because you just have a unique way of looking at the world, or you say the stuff that no one says. And I find that, frankly, really refreshing.
Oh,
I
good.
also am a fan of your Substack. You talk about some really bold topics within motherhood, and I jam on it. So, yeah, tell us more about you. Welcome.
Yes. Hi, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me on. It is very great to connect in this way. It's one of those things that I love about technology. You know what I mean? That we have the ability to do this kind of thing. What an amazing tool. So, I am a mom of two boys, two, I guess we're two under four, whatever. They're 3 and 1.5 right now. So I'm in toddler world and it's a lot. And I love them and they're amazing at the same time.
All of it.
All of it, yes. And I'm sure we'll get more into this, but I'm a very conscious, like secure attachment type parent. So it's even more a lot. And it's really not what most of society is doing. So that's been another challenge, but a choice that we've made that even though it's my choice, I fight it all the time. So I laugh at myself.
Oh,
But
yes.
yeah, so we met in Las Vegas. I lived there for 13 years, and we just kind of talked about this. But yeah, I'm in the middle of a huge life transition because my mother-in-law passed away last year, and so my husband and I decided to move back into his childhood home and kind of take over the family farm. They have an avocado grove here in Southern California and a mini grove here on the property of the house, and it's like a blessing and a dream come true. And I get to raise my kids on an acre with land and like
Mm,
gardens and chickens. And I know, I just
dream.
it's a dream, and I don't even know how to explain the joy and the struggle that goes with it because it's like, well, of course we want the kids to have their grandma. You know what I mean? So it's such
Yeah.
a strange
Yes.
transition of life to decide to like continue on the legacy, but after his parents are gone. So it's bittersweet is the only way to say that. You know what I mean? It's just bittersweet.
Literally, the
Yeah,
definition
literally.
of bittersweet. Like you got
That's
this
it.
dream gift, but at the loss of,
Of the
expense of losing
family.
someone that
Right.
is very dear to the family.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you're an avocado expert yet, but are they when's their growing season? Like if you looked out your window
Like
right now, would you see some ripe avocados
yeah,
right now?
right now, right now.
Oh,
Yeah,
how
picking is usually between. We were just at the Grove actually yesterday, and they were picking. So it's between mid March and Cinco de Mayo is usually when they do the last pick. And there's
really?
different.
So just a couple months, at least where you
Yeah,
live.
well, where we live, right? And that's
Yeah.
what. Gosh, this could be a political episode if you went down this road. But that's why
Yeah.
most of our avocados come from Mexico because the climate down there they can grow year round. So here it's not a year round thing. It's only in season and spring.
Uh,
Yeah, so that's why it's not super profitable. It's that's
you just
farming
have a
is
few months.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
So but it's awesome. I mean, literally we're growing food that's going to be on people's plates. Like I don't know. I think that's super profound. I think that's very
Mhm.
I'm super into health and nutrition and stuff too. So the fact that I get to be a part of that and continue on this family legacy, and have my boys watch us do it. And then I just started a garden yesterday and it's my new obsession. Oh my gosh. I have this zucchini and stuff waiting to go in the ground and I'm brand new. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm so excited about that. I have no idea.
Yes.
I'm like, we're figuring it out. so,
Yes. Get
so
your
I kind of,
hands dirty
yeah,
and
so
just get
I,
into the earth
yeah.
and
Husband got me some new overalls. They're super cute.
oh,
They're
you're
like
going
floral.
full blown like into
Doing
the
it.
the
Yes.
farm girl. I don't know what the name is.
Yeah, homesteader doesn't feel
Oh,
right.
I
It's
mean,
not fit farmer. It's something in whatever. hippie. I mean, I've been a hippie
Yeah.
for 20
Yes.
years. I don't know.
I love it. Oh,
But so we're in this big life transition. I lived in Las Vegas for 13 years, and in that time, I did so many things. I worked in retail forever as a
mm,
store manager of some pretty prominent brands, and then I, in 2016, saved up a bunch of money and I quit. And I was like, I'm out. I'm doing my own thing. So ever since 2016, I've been doing my own thing. And Kirk and I have had a digital marketing business since then. That's kind of just, just paid the bills. We have a couple local
yeah.
websites, stuff like that. And then he's always doing a million. We're those people who are just like, what do you do? And it's like, I don't know. What day is it? We have like
Yeah.
5 businesses, like a bunch of little stuff. So
Yep.
he's got like a software startup. He does some other stuff. We've got the avocado grove. I was teaching yoga for a long time. I'm a long time yoga student and been teaching off and on since about 2017.
Okay.
And I love working with, I always worked with specific communities. I started teaching kids actually at the after school program in like the at risk elementary schools. That was my
Mhm.
first yoga teaching job and I loved it so much. And then I worked with kids at there's a recovery high school in Las Vegas for kids who are in recovery from like addiction and alcoholism.
Oh,
So I
okay.
taught yoga there. And then when I
My
got
goodness.
pregnant, I was like, I got to teach the mom. So then I taught prenatal yoga.
Amazing.
So yeah. And
So many iterations and different subgroups of people. Wow.
it's
Yeah.
yes, and it kind of all sort of flowed with like my life too, and what was going on with my life. But
Yeah.
my absolute favorite clients, of course, were the moms because, I mean, I have also done mother circles. I went met at one
Yep.
of your mother circles. I hosted mother circles myself for a while, and when I teach yoga, I don't just teach the stretching, the asana. I mean, we go deep. We meditate. We talk about the universal source consciousness. Not to get like super woo super fast, but like we go there. And
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to be like, birth is the most spiritual thing that happens because it's how the souls get here. Hello,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
So that's another huge thing that turned on my the spiritual part of my motherhood was like, how are we not all in awe of what is going on right here? My body
Right.
just knows how to make eyeballs and ears and put them in the right spot. Like it just how like
Put them
life
in
is
the right.
doing what it's. Could you imagine if you woke up? It's like one baby comes out. It's like why is the ear on the front? It just knows.
Yeah.
Like life just knows what to do. It's insane. This is why I think I'm
Yeah.
also now obsessed with gardening because it's like you just set it up and it knows what to do.
Yeah.
But to watch your body just make another human and then realize you're the portal for them coming into this world. And then you have to start looking back. Well, I came into this world. So you look at your relationship with your mom and she came into this world. It just opened
Yep.
this world to me that
Yep.
was like, oh, people are not paying attention.
No.
This is an insanely spiritual
Yes.
thing and should be so revered. And and I
Preach.
think I think this is what led to my super instinctual thing to keep my babies as close as possible for as long as possible. With like this, I mean, like we co-sleep with the 3-year-old, and I'm still breastfeeding him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but not from a fear place. It was from a very like I think this is just what we're supposed to be doing.
Mhm. Oh
And
yeah.
not again, not a judgment for those who aren't or can't. I mean, I'm really extreme with it. I feel, I'm pretty extreme.
Well, because we're in America. If
So,
you were in
oh
another
yeah,
country, probably wouldn't be. I was just reading Hunt, Gather,
right.
Parent. I'm like
Well, it's on
75%
my
done.
list. It's on my list.
But
Is
I
it good?
didn't, I'm just, my mind, I love it. I mean, you can, if you have older kids, like say middle school and older, like it's still applicable. But I feel like it's the most beneficial to those of like 7 and under. I mean,
Mm,
I found it quite a breath of fresh air and very, very practical and so many aha moments. And also because I've always felt, even though I wasn't really like a kid person growing up and didn't expect to be a mom, there are some things that felt intuitively off about some of the parenting styles and dynamics that um, I wanted to change, but a lot of people I knew weren't parenting that way. And so it was almost like validating in this like sense of this is why it's felt wrong because actually biologically speaking we're not meant to do this with our kids. But it gave me not only research, but she looks at 3 different cultures in the world that have the most cooperative I forgot the confident happy kids, but it's actually it sounds like cheesy to say it that way. There's so much depth and like purity to it and going to like Inuit cultures and it's fascinating. But the
Oh,
thing that I was going to say is, um, ancestrally, am I saying this right? Biologically, kids would breastfeed till what, around 6? And then around
yeah.
7 and 8 is when they're
Yeah.
supposed to be really nurtured by the mother. And then in different cultures, around 7 and 8 is when they're like initiated into, um, not manhood, but they kind of pick their purpose depending on
Mm.
the culture they're in, and then they step out into the world. But those first 6 to 7 years, they're by the breast, they're by their mother, very, very nurtured, and they step into more of like the adolescence at that point. I just found that
Right.
interesting. So,
Okay, I read a book. I don't know. I've heard some controversial things about this author, and I cannot remember his name. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's a book called *Sapiens*. It's like a history of.
oh, we have it. I've never read it. My husband got it.
It's a
Right there.
fat read. Like it's pretty thick.
Yes,
It's
a little
pretty
intimidating.
mentally. Yeah, I think I am about 70% through. I'm 70% through a lot of books. I put things down and pick things up, but there's a part where he talks about this, and he talks about how women would breastfeed this whole time. And if you think about the way that our bodies are made, we're made to not ovulate while we're breastfeeding because of the hormone changes. And so they actually would not get their period back so that they would have one baby that whole time. And so they could focus on the baby. And so when I heard this and I started thinking about what's going on, I got my period back after my first son at 5 months, and I'm still
Oh,
breastfeeding him,
yeah,
you know?
interesting. Yep.
My second son, it was like 15 months, you know, and I'm going to go a little crunchy mom here. Again, I don't know if labels or
Whatever.
whatever,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
the label that works. You know what I mean? But I went a little crunchy mom. I went way crunchy mom. And I did all the research and read all the things. And I was like, okay, with all of the hormone disruptors and all of the stuff going on just in the environment and the food and all this stuff, it
Yep.
totally makes sense that our hormones are jacked up, that we're getting our periods back, that people have like what do they call it? Irish twins when you get
Yeah.
pregnant with a
Yeah.
3 month old. Like you shouldn't
Yep.
have your
That's
period
it.
at 3 months old. Like why do you have your period? It's just not biologically the way we were built. So like we shouldn't have three babies under 5. First of all,
Yeah.
and if we did, we should have like that you were talking like the village, right? And this guy talks about the village too. That once you have the 8-year-old too, that's the other thing. Once you're out of that, like I'm done breastfeeding my 4, 5, 6, whatever year old,
Yep.
and now I have another baby. Now, when I have the other baby, the 7 and
Yep.
8-year-old can hold the baby while I
Yeah.
cook dinner.
Yep.
The 3-year-old
Yep.
can't watch the 1.5-year-old. Crazy.
Right. No, no. So
And
it's
those
yes.
women would have like 4 kids. That's it, because you spread them out every 5 to 6 years.
Yeah. That does seem crazy though. Like when your oldest is maybe what, 15 to 20 years old, you have another one,
It does,
which is
but like
wild
because in
to think
America
about.
we just don't do that,
But people started
right?
sooner too. They probably
They
started having
started.
kids like late teens, early
Yes.
20s. So it's not like you're 35 and having your first kid and then 45,
Exactly. I
40,
I was 36 and 38. Totally, that's a whole other. Oh my
Yep.
gosh, being an older millennial who's like, "Oops, I forgot to have kids, but I have a master's degree I'm not using." Like,
Yep.
what? And
Yep.
so for 20 years I worked and no one told me, "Hey, don't you want to have kids?" You know what I mean?
Oh, yep. Yep. I mean, I love this conversation. Well, that was like I don't I love that we just went from like an intro into like your heart, your philosophy, just thoughts about
I already forgot.
breastfeeding.
I know we're
It does matter. No, I'm vibing on it. It's
good.
great. Love it. Um, I want to ask you some silly fun questions and then jump into your mothering story. Are you
Sure.
ready?
Yep.
Okay. Here goes our little rapid fire just to get to know you a little more.
Cool.
So, and if nothing comes to you in this moment and you're like, pass, I don't have, can't think of anything, just go with it. Let me know. What's your guilty pleasure, like a snack, TV show, etc., when you need a break from mom life? Do you have one?
Oh my god. Currently. Okay, well, it was social media, see, but that's
Mm,
really bad for my nervous system, and that's me knowing me really well. So it became
wow.
much worse than a guilty pleasure. It was ruining me. So right now, honestly, it's videoing my mom because when I video
Oh,
my mom, the 3-year-old runs away with the phone, and then I go make a coffee. I'm serious. I do it. It's hilarious.
because then the kids are distracted. You get a little moment to breathe.
It's
Love
that
that.
much. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna call my mom or call my dad. Sometimes my dad, most my mom. But no, it's always screens though. Like it always has something to do with technology.
Yeah.
Um, Everything else, I kind of also just, I try not to believe in guilt because
Hmm.
I'm on a healing journey. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
a judgment on the question, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've done enough personal work
Oh, I see what you're
where,
saying. Guilty pleasure. Right.
yeah, it's like, well, for me
Yeah.
now it's just pleasure because I choose things that are good for me.
Hell
But
yeah. Love that reframe. But your hack is like calling your mom, not for you to talk to her for your kids.
I'll be like,
That's
hey, how's
awesome.
it going? Oh, Neil wants to say hi.
Yeah. See ya. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. Okay. You ready for another one?
Yeah.
Okay. What's one thing you swore you'd never do as a mom, but now you totally do?
Oh God. Oh. There are certain foods I swear I'd never feed them that I totally have. Um,
Yeah. Yep.
that's it. It's
That
really,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that, and it's, you know what it is? It's Paw Patrol. Okay, I just cannot. Like, I try. We don't do screen time, and when I say we don't do it, I mean we don't do it every day. There's not a routine. It's not regular. Like
Yeah.
when Omar was dying, it was like, here's Paw Patrol for 3 hours because we were in survival mode.
Right. When your
We can
mother-in-law was passing away, you
Yeah.
used it. Yeah.
Yep. You know,
The Paw
when I'm
Patrol to the
it's Paw
rescue.
Patrol. Oh my God. But it's like I watch it with them and I'm like, it's not a bad show, but in my world, I want them to watch Mr. Rogers and, like, things that have
Gosh.
real, like, I don't know, value. And I'm like, I don't see that in
Right.
these cartoons. But I also try to think back to, like, cartoons. Like, me and my brother watched Power Rangers. Like, what is that teaching us,
Yeah.
really?
I know. I
No?
know. It's both. I'm trying to
Yeah,
do the same thing where it's like lower stimulating shows.
for sure.
Like
Yeah,
think about the
exactly.
Cocoa Melon colors. Yeah, your
No,
kid's gonna
we do
zone out, but it's like this
not.
drug of
Yeah.
toxic lights and stim. But
Yep.
then I watched Hey Arnold and Doug. I mean, I watched so many shows on Disney Channel that was there really a value based? Maybe a little bit. But
Yeah.
there
Well,
yeah,
that's
I have been trying to add
but
some of those like lower stimulating or
yeah.
fun games, even like Lego Masters. My son's into Legos. Well, you can watch the
Oh,
Lego
yeah.
cartoon show
Oh,
on
that's a great.
Disney, or you can just put on Lego Masters
I didn't even
or
think
like
about Lego Masters. We love
cooking
Legos.
shows, but kids cooking shows, even that you're like learning versus random shit on YouTube. I mean,
We
no
watched,
judgment.
yeah,
Like it's
but we
just
watched This Old House and, like, a lot of gardening stuff. But, like, they get bored with it.
yeah,
And I'm also trying to remember, like, I'm raising boys, and they need to watch shows where there's cops and robbers, and they can be the hero, and they just automatically pick that
yeah,
up. I actually believe that
yeah,
mm,
yeah.
that
That's a
it
good
seems
point.
they seem to be wired that way because they already pick up things and like boom boom, and I'm like, I didn't. Where did you learn this?
Right.
But then we have good talks about how we don't boom boom people. Only bad guys, but you don't have to worry about bad guys. We're free.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So, Becca, my last rapid fire question for you is what's your secret mom hack that no one told you about, but you wish you would have known about earlier? What's something you've brought into your mothering journey?
Oh wow. Okay, this one's okay. Don't do anything while you're breastfeeding. Don't scroll.
Oh.
Don't watch a movie. Don't listen to just, like, take that time to go inward and breathe and calm down and meditate, whatever. No one told me about this.
Wow.
I figured this out on my own. And I don't know if that's like a collective mom hack. Not everyone's breastfeeding. Not everyone's going to be willing to do something like that. But I found that was the time where that's, if you're committed to breastfeeding on demand for years,
Mhm.
that's a lot of hours.
A lot.
So what do you want to spend those hours doing? I guess I shouldn't say don't do anything. I should say don't scroll social media because that's what I started with. I started with, okay, no phone while I'm putting the baby down for a nap. And so I read a book and then I read another and then I read
Mhm.
10. You know what I mean? But that was way better for my nervous system. Like, I don't need to be scrolling Momstagram or looking in these
Right.
comments in the mom groups while I'm breastfeeding my kid, like creating
Mhm.
problems that I didn't have before.
Ah,
Because there's a lot, and also, what a sacred thing to just toss away as free time to scroll. I know that's crazy because it's like, it sounds crazy, but to me, it's like I love breastfeeding. I love it. I'm so done breastfeeding the 3-year-old at the same time. You know, I'm very
Yep.
always fighting with
Both
myself,
and. Yep.
but
Yeah.
I love the relationship. I love the sacredness of the bond. Um, both of them, I was able to breastfeed immediately after birth, even after emergency C-section. Like I was able to breastfeed immediately. I've nursed them both to sleep for the first 18 months at least. Um, and to just, immediately discount what's going on right here and just get lost in a world, like they know what's going on. And who knows what you're doing to your hormone flow, because we need the oxytocin flowing, and there's
Mm,
so many people all the
good
time
point.
everywhere. Oh, my supply is low, and I'm like, no, you
Yeah.
need some education. Like your body's not doing that to you, your environment's doing that to you,
Yep.
your mind, your own stress, the world we live in, your diet. Like
Yep.
our supplies are not just low now. It doesn't happen. It's just like why your baby wasn't born with an ear on their nose. It knows to make milk. You know what
Mm,
I mean? So I don't know. For me, like I said, I don't even know if that's a hack, but I learned so much about myself just breastfeeding. And I mean, maybe there's some white noise, maybe a little meditation music, but I sit there and I breathe and I
yeah.
reflect, and just take that time for me, because we don't get any other time. Like, when are you, especially if you were a spiritual practitioner, like, people like us, when am I meditating alone for 20 minutes anymore? That's
Right.
not happening.
No,
We don't have an hour sadhana
wow.
in the morning. So if I can take the time while breastfeeding, while nothing else is happening, and even like even maybe like when I had the second one, the toddler's watching his show, because we did that during nap time, and then I'm putting the baby down. That's like the only quiet moment sometimes in that day.
Yeah,
So I'm not gonna scroll.
exactly.
I'm not gonna wait. You know.
I've done both. Like I've totally used it for like I've even would hear from moms. Like I use my breastfeeding time to catch up on stuff, to scroll
Yeah.
social
Yeah.
media, to
Yeah.
finally get that time,
Mhm.
um, or to like message a friend or something. And then I would also do the other flip side. And I found it calming to some extent to my nervous system to like knock shit off my to-do list. Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But if I'm being honest, my favorite moments were like locking eyes with my child as I was literally nourishing them with my own body. And it was, like you said,
Oh.
so sacred. It's again like our body makes a baby. Holy shit. Like we all know this, but have you really been in awe and that our body can feed little humans? So that was not
And it
a
like
hack that I
makes
saw
it.
coming out, but I'm amazed. Yeah.
I was gonna say the only other one I was gonna say was go for a walk every day out in the sunshine, because I did that for years.
Yeah.
Stroller, do what you have to do, pack it all. I don't
Yes.
care if it's a pain in the
Yes.
butt,
Make it
like leave
happen.
the house. Yeah, like go for a stroller walk around your neighborhood, turn on a podcast, let the kid nap in the stroller. Like that's a great
Yep.
one. And that's more practical probably than the first one, but the first one was way more impactful for like my spiritual journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing. That was
for
fun.
sure.
Here, I did not know what was going to come out, so it's a
Me
fun
neither.
surprise to hear.
No idea.
Okay, so like take us back in time, what, 3.5, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, were you planning to get pregnant? Was that a desire on your heart to become a mom? Were you surprised? And then walk us into like birth, because I know we talked pre-pregnancy. We talked pre this discussion that you wanted to share some of your birth story. And so, yeah, open floor for you.
Love it. Oh, thank you for that. That's a nice invitation. So, yeah, my husband, not to get too personal and whatever, but it's my second husband. My first husband and I don't know, I don't like the term unequally yoked, but like it was not an energetic match from the start. He's a lovely person. He's remarried and happy with kids himself now, and we had a very peaceful split. But I was also in a tumultuous time in my 20s. And so
Mm.
I in the future. And it's not something we talked about growing up.
Say
It's
that
not.
part again. You went out for just a second. What
Oh,
wasn't
sorry.
something we talked about?
Having kids, growing
Oh,
up, we didn't.
yep.
It's not something we talked about. I think the kind of like waspy type family I grew up in was just very. It's just something that you do. It'll just happen someday. But we
Yeah.
don't. Like it was never like when you will grow up and have babies. It was very like, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? Because also we're of the age of, well, you can go to college now and get a degree and get a job. And of course, we know now that that system failed us. Not even true. At least
Yep.
not the way it was sold. Um, so no, for the first until I was 30, I didn't even think of it of having kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
not at all.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you were
then
just, yeah.
I was bebopping, man. I was partying, and and then my brother started having kids, and that does change things, I think. And I
Mm,
had some nephews and nieces, and I was like, oh, they're really cute. But and then I went through a divorce, and
mm,
then I just kind of thought, well, I'm good. I'll be single. I'll be me for a while, and it wasn't that long. And then I would say I met my husband. I'd actually known him kind of on the side, like loosely through people for many years, but because I was married, so neither of us,
yeah. Yeah.
whatever. And then I ran into him one day and it was like, oh, hey. And I mean, immediately it was like, that's him. And I was like, who is saying that to me, first of all? And I was like, this guy. At the time, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, he's kind of nerdy. And then I look at me, I'm like, here's my Star Wars phone case. I have Star Wars tattoos. I'm like, okay, I'm total nerd. I'm judging the nerd. He's not the right kind of nerd, whatever.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway, like a year and a half later, we were married.
Mm,
um, yeah, and he's a couple years older than me, and it's funny because if I look at the generation now, his parents were quite old when they had him. His dad was 50 and his mom was
oh, yeah.
38. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and like I said,
Right.
she just passed away. She was 81. He was 43. Husband is 40, or he'll be 43. He's 42. So we kind of have a big generational gap.
Yeah.
Um, and we're we're gonna have another one because I was 36 when I had my first. So I mean, we're getting younger, back to our human
Full
roots,
increment.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we were working from home, doing our marketing business. Um, we made just enough to get by. There were a couple months back in the day where it's like, "Hey, mom, can we have some help?" And but we were working hard, building websites, just loving life, and then COVID happened. And then at first it was kind of scary, but then my husband was actually he was one of those people who was able to like jump on an opportunity and like take advantage of all the online stuff happening. So we actually did pretty well during COVID, which was great and a great cushion because we had just gotten married right before it. So we bought a house, we put solar, we did all these things that were kind of cool. Now we're set. And we talked about, let's have a year and a half of just us, and then we'll see, whatever God's plan. And I got pregnant the 5th month after I took out my IUD. So easy. Just boom, like super pregnant.
Okay.
Um,
Surprise. So, like,
yeah,
weren't
but well,
really trying yet, but you were open to the idea in like a year or two.
well, yeah, it was like I mean, I had another thing. I'd had birth control since I was
Yeah.
15, because they just
Yeah.
put us on it. And so
Yeah.
I was on an IUD. I hadn't even had a period in 5 years. But it
Oh
worked.
my,
I mean, I didn't get pregnant, which was my goal.
right.
But as soon as I took it out, my cycle regulated in a couple of months, and I was like, "Oh wow, I didn't really
Right.
expect that." So I just didn't know what to expect. And then bam, we got pregnant. Here's a really cool story, actually. So our midwife, we actually met her before I even got pregnant because we found out because I was already researching. I'm already like kind of like I said, I've been a hippie for like my whole life, whatever, and I was kind of researching like natural birth, home birth, and all this. So I did like a free info session with this place and was like, I'm gonna because I wanted to do it
Yeah.
right. So I was like, I'm trying to get pregnant maybe soon. So I want to talk to you first,
Yep.
And like,
Yep.
oh, there's a prenatal you can take. So we were doing it, it wasn't like, oh crap, stop eating all this food, you're pregnant. It was like I'm already trying to kind of
Hmm.
do like a more holistic fertility ritual, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, and so we find out randomly that my husband's old friend, some guy he used to live with for a while, was dating this girl who happened to be the midwife who worked at the practice where I had just had like my little interview. So it was the other midwife.
Oh,
I know. So we met her and I was like, this is crazy. And my husband was like, you might get to know my wife really well. And
segue.
sure enough, yeah.
Yep.
And sure enough, she was right there at my first birth. And we're still good friends to this day, which is so funny, like completely outside of the midwife practice. I was just
Oh,
texting her the other day. But yeah, and she had a dream that I was having a boy. And I said, it's a boy. I know. And it turned out So it's just, I don't know. We just had this like
Oh,
little
cool.
connection. Yeah.
Yes.
So she's
How
one of
was
the first people I called when I was pregnant.
she was one of the what?
One of the
First,
first people that I called
you
when I
already knew.
found out.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. I don't think most people like pick their midwife at a time,
I
like that.
know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was
I guess
wild.
if you have an OB like you've been seeing for years, that person
Right.
might naturally become, your but this is yeah, it's a little
No,
different when
this
you're
was totally
selecting.
different from. I had an OB that was very robotic and very like, do you have any on a computer? And I was like, I'm not doing that, you know. So yeah, but I found out I was pregnant. We were actually on the East Coast at the time. We usually go back for a month or two. We've done this ever since COVID because we can, because we work from home and we're like, we got to get out of here. So we road trip across the country and stay with my parents. They live in Georgia,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I, it's a lot.
That's a road trip.
It's a big life thing that we do, but it's really great because they live on like 5 acres in the woods, and we just
Oh,
we go there and just melt and relax. You know,
peaceful.
it
Yes.
really is, yeah. And so I actually got pregnant while we were there because my husband was working. This is in 2021, so a little bit still of the COVID times. He was taking a temporary job for like 2 months, so we got pregnant there. So we were able to tell my parents, which was so cool. They're
Oh,
while we're staying
yeah.
at the house, and then pregnancy. Man, I had they should have a thing called like perinatal depression, That's what I had. Like, I know
Oh,
about postpartum depression, but
goodness.
like during, I mean, I was just a mental basket case, constant fear,
Mm,
anxiety. And I could tell it was the hormones because I was like, I don't feel like myself. But at the same time, this fear and this stuff is real. So I just
yeah.
had a really tough time navigating the mental space of pregnancy. And
Mm,
it wasn't anything specific. It wasn't like I wasn't afraid of the birth, but there was natural like fear there. I wasn't afraid
sure.
of being a mom, but there was natural fear. It was just everything. I just felt like
Yeah.
the world was closing in on me and everything was terrible and I couldn't explain it. And my husband's like, I don't know what to do with you anymore. And
Oh,
and then
yeah.
this is a really interesting one. When I was 6 months pregnant, our plumbing exploded. So we had like
Oh,
exploded. We had to replace the plumbing in the entire house. So we had to move out for a month when I was 6 months pregnant.
fun
Like
times.
remove.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we came down here to live with my mother in law. And we are so alike that we challenged each other, is what I like to say. And it was in the end, I think we very, very much respected each other, but it
Mm,
was not, she was a captain in the Navy in the 70s, you know what I mean? Like in the 80s. So
dang.
she was,
Yep.
yeah, she was a badass. Like she was but that mentality kind of never left her. And so everyone called her the captain. Um, and I'm very outspoken as well. So we matched energies, but I think then we had an understanding. But it was definitely still very challenging to try to live in the same house for a month.
Mm, sure.
And I'm
Yeah.
6 months pregnant and hormonal. Ah!
Yeah.
So the pregnancy itself was very eye opening. But at the same time, I was also on the spiritual journey where I kind of stopped meditating and I was doing some yoga, but it didn't have the same feeling as before. And the only way like to explain it to Kirk was I don't feel the need to seek all this connection with God because I feel like I'm infinitely connected because I'm growing a human right now. Just
Beautiful.
existing is like I'm spiritual.
Yeah.
But but
Yeah.
and that has led now to I don't need to sit here and seek all day long because I just am. We're all spiritual all the
Oh,
time. Yeah, it doesn't stop,
drop the mics.
so
That's all we need to say right now. Yeah, no, I
end of
love.
podcast. Just
Yeah.
kidding. You know what I mean? It's like we're always just seeking, seeking, seeking. It's like, why don't you just sit there
Yeah.
and be and like recognize that you're a spiritual being and you're
Well,
amazing? You know?
yeah.
So it was very
Mm,
interesting that's when I started slowing down and I started doing less everything. I stopped meditating so much. I stopped, and I've been taking social media breaks since 2020. Yeah, I started during the
yeah.
pandemic because hello, it was wild during 2020.
Yeah.
You want to be on Facebook during all that? Like, ugh, ugh.
Oh my God. Yep. That's when I took my 3 year break, actually,
Yeah,
right around then. Yeah.
yeah. See, and
Anyways.
I've done the same thing, but I popped on and off. I've never done a straight through except for like the last year, I think, like I mentioned to you. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, so coming back to that, basically, so I planned this home birth, and I mean, I was ready to go. I'm good to go. I felt great. He was, of course, late as first babies are. So, I was getting I was a mental basket case right after 40 weeks hit, of course, because I'm like, what's
Of
going on?
course. Yeah.
But when you haven't experienced it before,
Yeah,
it's new. You also
totally.
don't know. Yeah. So, I mean, eventually, finally, of course, I went into labor. I went into labor on 40 and 5 days, and he was born 41 plus 1. So I was in labor for 3 straight days.
Oh, no. Oh,
Active.
wow.
Every 5 minutes, active. I'm not joking.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah. So it was Thursday night at 7 p.m. I went into labor, and it was like, irregular for about 4 hours. And then
Yeah.
from 11 p.m. on Thursday night all the way till when he was born at 3:30 a.m. Sunday, it was like every 5 minutes.
Goodness. So home birth,
Yeah, so home birth,
what happened there?
girl.
I'm like, how do you even ride the waves of 3 days of labor and not, I don't even.
I think I
Eh,
eventually got into some state of delirium because I was just so
yeah,
sleep deprived at that point. Then your
yeah.
body's just going through the motions or something. Because I was in labor for 56 hours. We did the math, yeah. So that's a little like 2.5 days. Um,
Wow.
it's hard to wrap my head around it now because we were so prepared to go 24 hours. They tell you this. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, cool.
right.
I had food in the fridge, all this stuff. But I mean, by day 2, we had a friend dropping off food for my husband because like he wasn't prepared to like, I need
Dang.
to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm in the back screaming. And so what turns out as what happens is he was sunny side up and asynclitic, which most people don't know that. Sunny side up is face up, where they're supposed to be face down. Asynclitic is head sideways instead of like that, right? So he was just stuck, jamming into um, my pelvis, the back. What am I trying to say? Like my
Yeah,
tailbone, you know?
yeah.
And so I had horribly intense back labor. Oh my God, it was so bad. I
Oh,
can't even
yeah.
explain. And this was so long too. I had a team of doulas. I had 2 doulas that worked together. I mean, they got to a point where everyone was gone and it was just me because everyone had to leave. They can't stay for that long.
Oh, man. Yes.
I really think there were other births in between and then people popped back in. You know what I mean?
Probably.
So there was one 12-hour period where I think it was during the day, Saturday. My husband just slept all day and I was in the living room laboring and everyone was gone. And at some point, of course they come and check on me. But I mean, talk about feeling abandoned, okay? Like when
That's
you are on your like second or third day of labor and
a
you're just like,
vulnerable time.
yes. But at the same
Oof.
time, like I said, I was just going through the motions because at that point I'd been awake for so long, I hadn't really eaten anymore. I don't know. And so finally something had to give on Saturday night and I don't know what happened. I don't think we did much. I was doing like the miles circuit and some of these
Oh,
these things
yeah.
we do. But eventually my water broke, which was very promising. And then they came back and I think they did a check and it was like I've been at 5 centimeters for like 2 days. I don't know. So, but it was clear that I was entering transition because it was starting to get very intense. And that intensity, I think, um, I like to be careful with the way I tell this story because I don't really believe that most emergency C-sections are emergencies. But if you start studying the birth world, you'll understand that pretty clearly. You know what I mean? Like there are a lot of factors. But I had a planned home birth with no interventions, and I'm in labor for 56 hours, and I'm doing the thing. And it just got to a point where I think maybe he was so exhausted and I was so exhausted that
Sure.
his body, yeah. So I mean, his heart
Yeah.
rate started going 200, 70, 200. 60, 210. And so when it starts jumping that crazily, they're like, we have to go.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
midwife said, we need to go to the hospital at this point. She stayed so calm. I know you guys don't want to do this and I know you don't want to hear it, but I think we need to move to the hospital at this point. I'm going to call an ambulance because we'll get in faster. I'm going to ride with you. Kirk's going to follow. I mean, she was just like, she knew exactly what to do.
Yep.
She was chill. I trusted her. I didn't freak out.
Yep.
And of
Beautiful.
course, then turns out I'm literally transitioning and like basically crowning in an ambulance on the 15.
Oh, no.
Oh, and I've talked about vulnerability too with these like, very attractive firemen come in to like put you naked on a gurney. And I'm like, oh my God.
I didn't even think. Wait, when you were crowning, were they saying not to push? Like what?
Well,
Or
it
was
was
it still a
like,
matter of
I
maybe
don't
some
think I was,
stuckness,
I don't
but
think it
things
was
were,
really counting, but I was like, it was clear that I was getting close to like 10. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I didn't feel pushy because she asked me, and I was like, I don't know what that feels like. Still, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
my first time. I was like, I just feel intense pressure, but I felt that for 2 days. So we get to the hospital, and I mean, it went from very peaceful, excited home birth to like lonely, deserted home birth to like horrific, terrible hospital story. Just
Hmm.
when it's that emergent, I'm no longer a person. They
Yeah.
need to get in, get out, make sure everyone lives, you know.
Right.
So, I mean, immediately there was 10 people in the room. They cut my shirt off of me.
Wow.
They're like, one of the nurses was like, "Oh, you might be able to push," because I was at a 10. And I was like, "Great." And then the doctor came in and was like, "Why are we still here? We need to do a C-section." And I was like, kind of like, "Hi, who the are you?" Like, "Hello, nice to,"
Yeah. You don't know any of these people.
No, and some of the nurses were great. "Hi, I'm nurse so and so. We're going to do this. Hi, I'm nurse so and so. We're going to do a catheter." But this guy, I mean, it's funny because the experience I had with him, I was like, his energy is bad. Like, he's hot, he's sweaty, he's nervous, and he's about to cut me open. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I want someone, and they were like, "Well, he's the best surgeon." I was like, "That to me, the best surgeon is calm." you know, everyone
Yeah.
else is. Um.
Mm.
So anyway, we were. I was rushed in, and it's amazing though how bad I wanted what I wanted because I was like, "Don't put me under. I need to breastfeed right away." So in the
Oh,
middle of the chaos, I demanded that they do a spinal instead of anesthesia, and they didn't have time to do anesthesia anyway. I guess it would have taken longer. I don't know, but
okay.
so I was able to get spinal anesthesia because they didn't have time to do an
Oh,
epidural. That's what it was. Anyway, I didn't know this was a thing, and spinal anesthesia is different from an epidural, which is a constant drip, and spinal
mhm.
anesthesia is
Boom.
anesthesia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they did that. And because of all my demands, and I was like telling my husband, like, don't leave his side, don't let them do any procedures, and he came out, he was fine immediately. His APGAR was like 5, went to 8. He's good to go. I recovered perfectly. It's like we just needed help getting there. And
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. And that got to a point where I cried every day for a month. And then I stopped trying to figure out why, because my midwife said there's 2 people having a birth story and an experience. And you don't have any reason to know why he came into the world the way he did. For whatever reason,
Yeah.
we ended up in the hospital. It's whatever.
Yep.
And
Oh,
actually, the article I'm writing right now for Substack, because I always am writing like 5, is your birth story is not your fault because
mm,
I think we take on so much shame and guilt of the things we did or didn't do, we as
yeah.
the mothers, that like affect our labor. And it's like, dude, it's so much more. The world is so much more complex than that. You could never put that on yourself. There's so many factors that have
Yep.
nothing to do with you at all. They have to,
Mhm.
I mean, if you think about the way that your body is, the way your hormones are, all this stuff, there are thousands, millions of events in your life leading up to your pregnancy or birth that you
Yeah.
can't control, not to mention like who your kid is and like who
Yeah.
your birth team is. Like, you know, the fact that my midwife made a decision at some point 10 years ago to like go to midwife school was happening at the same time I was meeting my husband. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't control the way the world works like that. It all
Mm-hmm.
just comes together and it is what it is. So you can
Yep.
sit there and like ruin your mind about it, or you can just work on some acceptance
Yep.
and like
Preach.
revere the whole thing for what it is. The world is just happening and we have no control over it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So that
Beautiful. Yeah.
that perspective comes a lot from my yoga studies over the years, and that helped me really process that birth, and I think prepare me to home birth my second one. So
Yes. I knew that, spoiler alert, you had a
yeah,
successful home birth with your second.
I
I
did.
would love for you to speak to the way you prepared for that coming from a traumatic
Yeah,
experience. Was it ever a question in your mind that you would try for a home birth with your second? And like, how did you help prepare yourself for any moms listening that might want to or just want to hear a positive
yeah.
success
Well, it's
story
funny
there?
when I talked to my midwife about the first one. I said, she's like, if he was fine, I would have let you keep going. And I said, and I would have. She's like, I know. You were determined. And I was so determined. There was never a doubt in my mind. I was never afraid. I knew everything was going to be fine. Um, And I think that's the thing where a lot of people don't realize that a lot of home birth to hospital transfers are mothers who go past 24 hours who request a transfer so they can get an epidural and sleep because holy crap, it's
Yep.
hard work.
Yes.
It's most
Yes.
of the time that's what's happening.
Yep.
My my specific incidence is seriously like 1 in 1,000. That doesn't really happen with home birth.
Mm-hmm.
Really, not that way, Um, I immediately knew I got pregnant like on my son's first birthday, like right around there. Super cute. I
Yeah.
was like, let's get it done. Let's do 2 under 2. And then sure enough, I was like, oh, whoops. Okay. Okay.
Careful what you
And
wish for.
sure enough. So, and that pregnancy was even harder than the first one because now I have a toddler. And I look at my 18-month-old now and I'm like, he's such a little person. They're starting to say these little words and you see their personality come out. And I feel like I wasn't that present for that time period of my son's
Mm-hmm.
because I was so consumed with the mental anguish of pregnancy and I was exhausted. It's like I could have slept 14 hours a day. And you can't do that because you have to take care of my
Yep.
mom lives in Georgia, So thankfully my parents are the type where I was like, I need you. And my mom would come out for 2 or 3 weeks and she did that
Oh.
a couple of times. It was amazing help. And there was no doubt in my mind that I was going to have a home birth. And the midwife said, yeah, you waited a year, like your scar's healed. No problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I intuitively, too, right away, what I did to prepare, which is funny you asked it that way, is not much. You know,
Ah.
I did less. I did less yoga. I did less walking. I did less procedures. I denied a lot of things. I did like, I think I just did the 20-week scan and like kind of that was it. I
Yep.
didn't do any of the other stuff. They were,
Mm-hmm.
none of the thinking the thing, the diabetes. I didn't
Yep.
do any of it. I just went in to talk to the midwives because I love them. So,
Which is side note, the diabetes
mm,
thing, the drink.
mm,
I might have done it with my first, with my second when I did a home birth, just for women listening. If you don't want to do it, I didn't know it was an option. Everything's an option. You can discuss it, right? Consent,
yeah,
form consent, educate yourself. And so my midwife let me just take what did I do? What is it called that diabetics? I'm
oh,
so bad with medical terms.
you just do like a glucose test, right? Like
She
a pin
just said, "Send me your numbers after a
yeah,
couple days. Do it for a couple days. Let's see what they are." She's like, "You're probably fine." But that's kind of the way we went around it. I had no concerns, but I just wanted to dot my i's, cross my t's. I never did the
yeah,
test. So
yeah. Or a lot of them will have a more natural drink you can drink that's not like glucose, like glucose syrup.
yes, I've heard of that one.
I did that
So
with my
yeah,
first. And then with my second, I said, listen, I don't have any markers for diabetes of any kind. My diet is super clean by choice. I'm not a risk. I'm not doing it. And they were like, okay,
mhm.
you know? Um, yeah. And so the pregnancy, yeah, it was hard. It was really hard. My mom came back. She had come for the baby shower, gone home, and then like 2 weeks later, I was like, Mom, can you come back?
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
She came back when I was 37 weeks pregnant, and I was like, "Hope you're hanging out for a month because my last one went over." And this baby knew he came on Labor Day, actually, or Labor Day
Or right
weekend.
around.
He came Sunday. Yeah, we always joke. It's like,
Cute.
"Oh, Labor Day, baby,"
Yep. Yep.
And he came a week early. So like you never know, so crazy. And also like there were just everything was so different except for the mental chaos. Like with my first pregnancy, I gained like 45 pounds. With my second, I
Uh-huh.
gained like 15. Like,
Oh
I
wow.
mean,
Very different.
just
Yeah.
so different. Everything is so different. And my second baby was bigger. It's just, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. So crazy how they are completely unique experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to the farmer's market in Summerlin on a Saturday morning. And I was like, I had been having Braxton Hicks for like 2 weeks at this point, and I was like, okay, this is just hanging around, I guess. But that morning I took a selfie and I remember posting it on Instagram and I was like, love you, buddy. You can come when you come. Everything's chill. Like, we're ready
Yeah.
for you.
Mhm. 12 hours later.
Yeah, like I was like, maybe I'm in labor. It was 11 a.m. Okay, so that's more like 16 hours later. So then I got home and I
But
was
yeah,
kind
the
of like,
next day.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, this might be late. So later that night, I always feel, I was like, this
Mhm.
might be it. I'm like walking around. I think I had like some tuna salad and then I was walking around the pool going, Kirk, I don't know, man. I think this is it. And somewhere around like 5 p.m., I was like, I need to just go in the room. And I retreated into our bedroom and I had like a whole purple thing going on with the lights and like I did some Kundalini yoga that kind of got me through the last couple of weeks. So I did some Kundalini yoga and I just bounced on the ball and danced and just kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm.
And I thought I was in there for a little bit. I was in there for like 3 hours, just like vibing, which was great.
Yeah.
And I haven't really talked about this because I love these midwives, and I think it's just, I don't know. I think there's something even with clinical midwives that's very different and still clinical. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm. Sure.
the birth did not go the way I expected or wanted it to. Um, a nurse that I had never met ended up being the one that showed up at the house, and I was like, that's completely not the point of having a midwife practice. I want someone that I've met, that I know. And at my
Mm,
first birth, it was their students who had showed up, and I'd met the students many times, like to check, you know.
yeah.
And then my midwife or my doula was late. The photographer was there. She's amazing. And she was a doula or a labor nurse before. So she knows
Nice.
what's going on, right? And she photographed my first one and did the video for that one too. So she was like kind of helping. And then finally my doula got there and I don't know, it was just kind of like, I don't know what's going on, but it's getting really intense. And they checked me and I was like, I don't really want to do a check. I never did, but they did a cervical check and I was at a 5 and they were like, and I was like, no, like last time I was at a 5 for 3 days, that's not happening. And let
Yeah.
me I went from 5 to baby delivered in an hour and a half.
Oh shit.
Totally different from the
Oh
first
yeah.
one. Like, right after that, my
Curveball.
water broke, and I was like, "Yay!" And they were like, "Yeah, girl, let's go." And I was like, "I'm getting in the tub." They're like, "It's a little early." I was like,
Oh.
"I'm getting in the tub."
Yep. You
So
took
then I got
charge, mama.
yeah, I was like, I got in the tub, um, and I mean, this time I was fully present for this whole experience, and
Right.
I don't know how to explain this except for other people who've given birth, but I could, like, see the ring of fire in my mind's eye.
Whoa.
Like, it's like the eye of Sauron almost, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
fire, and, like
Yeah.
and then he came out, like, right after that, and
Mm.
it was, like, an insanely spiritual experience, and, he
Mm.
cried right away within, like, a minute, but again, because the nurse didn't know me or my plan, she, like, got her hands in there right away, and I was like, "I got it!" You
Yeah.
know, so it kinda just messed with the vibe right away, and then, like,
Yeah.
the doula was like she didn't wanna say anything, and I was like, "Get off! Like, he's fine,
Give me
whatever." It
some
was over.
space. Yeah.
And then the
What
midwife
was pushing like? I meant to ask you since you hadn't pushed before, you know.
Oh, I didn't push, he just came flying out. I had serious
Oh.
fetal ejection reflux.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it
that
was
fascinates
crazy
me.
because it was so fast. He I mean, I
Dang.
felt intense pressure, and I mean, transition was I have the birth video is on my, uh it's on one of my Instagrams, so you can see me,
Oh.
like, I mean,
Yeah.
I tore my babies in apparently. Um,
Yeah.
and it was, like, right when it's like they say, it's like right when you think you can't go anymore, that's when they're
Yep.
coming. 'Cause it was
Yep.
insanely intense for, like,
100%.
and
Oh,
then they're like, "Oh my gosh, I think I feel him." And I was like, "Can I push?" They're like, "Do whatever." And the next thing, I mean, he just came out on the next contraction. I didn't
oh,
even really have to bear down.
epic.
It was amazing. And then he
Mm,
latched right away. I mean, nursed for like 45 minutes and everyone just let it
mm,
happen. And I was like, leave the placenta. It was not wanting to come out. Eventually they finally had to help me. But we waited like a while and then we waited to cut the
yeah,
cord. Well, because it was like an hour, so we didn't really have to wait to cut the cord much. But after that it was like and then
yeah.
all hell broke loose and I
Safe
was a mom.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after that, now I'm a mom of 2 under 2, and I have postpartum depression and some chronic illness. So it was chaos after that. But the birth was
Yeah.
beautiful. So let's hang on that for a second. It was
You had
great.
that.
You can have a home birth after C-section or a VBAC, like whatever. Like as long as you're healthy and like your body, it's like it's most of that stuff is gonna work. Like that's fine. It's the mental
Yeah.
stuff. It's like if you
Yeah.
want it as a mom,
Yeah.
you're gonna be the one who's gonna have to convince other people.
Mhm.
I just stopped talking to people about it too. I do that
Yep.
a lot. I don't tell a lot of people a lot of stuff anymore about what I'm doing with my kids. You
Yeah.
know?
Everyone's got an opinion, and they're not.
Yeah.
No, a lot of them aren't welcome. And I think
People
having
real
a care provider that. Sorry to me cut you off.
no, go ahead.
Having a care provider say you want to do a VBAC, or just anything that's not maybe traditional for those that do want to go that route. It is not for everyone. Um, Finding a care provider that is like fully believes in it and isn't a questioner, I think is really key to the success too.
Yeah,
Having someone on your side that's like pro whatever you want to do,
for sure.
there's no fear is a key factor.
Yeah.
Um, I love freaking birth stories. I even contemplated like, do I want to have just a podcast to share birth stories? Because I love them so
There
much.
aren't enough. There will
And
never
there's
be enough.
so no, and there's so much you can dissect from it and like,
Mhm.
places to look at it. But to be conscious of time, because I want to talk to you about
Yeah.
social media. Before we
Yeah.
close this, I just wanted to know if there's anything else you want to share before we start talking about social media related to your birth experiences.
I don't know if I could just share with moms that like I know everyone just says like it gets better and it's like oh my god what a cliche, but the cliches are cliches for a reason, right?
Hmm.
It's I would just say that container of pregnancy and birth and postpartum, like let it be chaos, let it be what it is. Don't try to fix it, don't try to judge it. It's supposed to be like that. You're literally birthing a new soul, which takes great spiritual compression. You know, you're under a lot of spiritual pressure. So like just be super
Hmm.
easy on like your mental state, your spiritual state, your emotional state, like the physical stuff, of course, right? Everyone's talking about that. But I mean like if you have a bad mind day when you're pregnant, like lay on the couch and cry all day. Do it. you know?
Lean
Let it
in.
be. Let it be, you know? If you're
Yeah.
postpartum
Yeah.
and like crying while you're breastfeeding a newborn and the toddler's crying, you're crying together, like let it. It's okay.
All part of the experience.
It
It's
is,
just,
but also it's like I think everyone is walking around with I don't know how many moms I've seen who I'm like, have you not even cried? Like, what are you doing? We have pent up energy that
oh,
is
yeah.
meant to release, like the emotional energy. It's like if you are braving it through and you're like, I got this. It's like, dude, that's such a masculine, weird way to try to be when you're in the most feminine energy of your life. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
let it be chaotic. Let it be. I mean, that's the whole like the chaotic feminine is like killing people, whether you know what I mean? Like I think of like a lot of Eastern goddesses and stuff, like
Right.
Kali, you know,
Yeah.
goddess of death. Like a mother is Mama Bear. Like this is serious stuff. Like just
Hmm.
it's always like if it feels crazy, it feels chaotic, feels like too insane. That's exactly how it's supposed to be, and you're in the right spot, and it's okay. It'll be okay. It's okay now, and it'll be okay later.
Yeah.
Sit with it.
Hmm. Rather than pathologize it.
Yeah, pathologize or trying to push it down and act like it's not happening either. You
Yeah.
know, it's like
Let
because
it
you're
go.
gonna have to deal with. It's gonna come out later if you don't let it do it now.
Yep. Gosh, there's so much to talk about. Just even societally of what we do with chaos and disruption in our lives, or like inner turmoil, how we don't know how to be with it and like actually let it be. But that's a whole nother talk. So
Listen, we
I
could do
want to,
8 episodes.
I know.
That's
So,
motherhood now, though. That's the point of my Substack is mostly what you just said.
to be able
That's
to
a lot of
share that.
what I write about. Like we are not okay as people and as mothers. If we could focus on being in the here and the now and letting things be as they are, reality, not falsities in our mind or out there, we'd be so much happier. You know?
Amen. Motherhood now.
Quick segue, but yeah.
Yeah, well, totally. And what do you want to share about your social media journey and thoughts? Where do you want to start?
Yeah. Well, I took my first break in 2020 because if you were paying attention at all during the pandemic and an election year, right?
Mm-hmm.
2020. Yeah. It was like
Yeah.
people have lost their damn minds. And not even like this side, that side, this, nothing. It's just everyone's in fight or flight because we've never dealt with a worldwide thing like that in our generation. So everyone's like literally nervous system is in like chaotic fight or flight mode. And we're trying to reason with one another and fight with one another and like also help each other because like I don't know, I had a friend who was like, I can't find bread. And I was like, bitch, I'll make you some bread. Like, calm down. You know, like we're all like just
Yes.
I was mad. So I was
Yeah.
like, what would happen if and I was going through yoga teacher training at that time.
Hmm.
So, and I've done a few different ones. So I was doing one and it was, we went in person twice and then we had to move it online. So I was like, what if I just focused on this yoga teaching journey and whatever and just took a break? And it was painful at first. I am an
Mm-hmm.
addicted, I'm an addictive type person. I've struggled with disease or like alcoholism and stuff in the past. Um, And so I don't know if it's just my nature but I mean, you know, you can watch a couple documentaries and they build it that way. So I think everyone is susceptible to this kind of addiction because I don't know a single adult who is like happy with the amount of time they scroll. You know,
Yeah. Yep.
at some point you always are annoyed with the fact that you just wasted half an hour and you can't recall any of it or, you know, it was
Yeah.
literally just to turn your brain off for a few minutes.
Yeah.
So that's the first break I took, but I mean, it really became obvious Well, and there's two sides of this coin for me. One is personal, and the effect that the scroll had on me as a mom,
Mm,
and how I'm sitting here with like postpartum depression, and I'm paying attention to all this stuff on Instagram. And it's not just Instagram, it's all of them. It's TikTok, it's Facebook. They're all
yeah.
built the same way. I think different ones have different algorithms that are a little more like troubling for some people, you know? So Instagram was my drug, and I just could not put it down. And so I would find myself on these scary, crazy rabbit holes going, is this going to kill my baby? Is this what's wrong with him? Is that what's going to get
Oh,
us? Look what society's doing to us. And it's like,
mm,
if I didn't have this available right here at my fingertips, I wouldn't even know that these things were happening. If I
yep,
looked at the baby in front of me, it's fine. We're fine. It's chill. I don't have any problems. So I think we don't know we're doing it, but we're creating problems for ourselves
yep,
when we go seeking out things that, you know.
yeah,
So I started, and at the same time, so that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is this pressure to like make money online because you might as well. You're online, you're scrolling all. I got an email yesterday from someone's
uh,
like, we're all scrolling all day anyway. Like you should just totally be making money. And I wanted to write back and be like, we're not all scrolling all day anymore. Like you have to catch up. It's 2025, and we're actually there's like a mass exodus happening
yeah,
because we've
there
all
is.
realized that that's terrible. And there's a very different energy from I'm going to sit here and mindlessly scroll to I'm going to consciously try to create a business online where I'm actually trying to make money. You
Yeah.
know, like people act like they're the same thing. It's like, well, you're just, just if you're
Mm,
scrolling, just create some reel. It's like, no, have you ever tried to actually have a strategy and create social media? I mean, I've been doing this since we had a marketing business, right? I've been doing it since 2016, and it's changed a lot, but like, there's strategy behind it. And so I'm sitting here like I had a yoga YouTube channel for a while. And I'm like, do I really want to dive in deep and go here? But can I do that and also quit social media personally?
mm,
Which now we know we can kind of do that, right? Like there's ways, but so I was
mm,
constantly being pulled from the you should make money, and there's a total millennial. I have a master's degree. I should be doing something with it. I should be productive. I worked for 20 years and now I'm a mom, and that's an entire societal like upflip that I think all those millennial moms kind of saw what happened all of a sudden, and that's bigger than anything that I can fix. So I can only worry about me and my growth, which for me that turns into validation coming from within
yeah.
and complete faith and trust that my husband will provide the money part because I provide everything else. And that is more valuable, even though society doesn't see it that way. And
Mm,
sometimes he like that's always a push and pull because he's making the money. I go, yeah, but if I didn't do all the
yeah,
other
right.
stuff, there would no be space for you to make the money. Like they both have to happen, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think about a year ago now, I think maybe, I don't know. At this point, I've started like 4 different blogs,
Been
one
there.
YouTube,
Yeah.
5 different Instagrams, because I'm also, I have 1,000 million ideas. And that's the other thing is like, I think your sacral creative energy is turned on when you're a mom. And I think that's
Yeah.
like you talk about that book. I think that's a real thing because our creative energy, we
Oh,
create,
yeah. The book. Yes.
we create humans. How is that after it's turned on, not supposed to be in like,
Yeah.
we are creative beings, right? So now I could create a business. I know how to. I could dive in, but at what cost? Now my kids are without a securely attached relationship with their mom, right? Um yeah, so I really struggled with that a lot, like trying to decide whether to work or not. So about a year ago, I kind of got off Instagram. I was like, I have to just completely turn it off. And I think you can like search for my profiles and find them, but like they're dormant. You know what I mean? Like they won't come up anywhere. But if you looked for it, it's there. That was like somewhere in between quitting forever and like just logging off.
Yeah.
And then my phone is in like minimalist mode. None of the apps are on my phone. All the other distracting apps are blocked as well. I can't even have YouTube on my phone.
Hmm.
I get too distracted. And so I started a Substack. Yeah, Motherhood Now. And I don't even have Substack on my phone because they now have notes and I would get lost in there. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Yes. They kind of become like a social media platform in a way, just a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, the notes in the comments.
Yeah.
But
Well, and it's funny because part of this conversation needs to switch that it's not social media that's the problem necessarily, it's technology. And we have to look at the whole picture because you can be just as obsessed with opening your Gmail 18,000 times a day, and that's not
yeah,
social media, but it's a
yeah.
dopamine problem. That's what it is.
Mhm.
It's dopamine and the short form content that's making us literal dopamine addicts. Okay, there's this woman named Dr. Anna Lemke. She wrote the book Dopamine Nation, which is on my to do. I haven't read it yet, but
What a
I've seen
name.
a lot of her podcasts and stuff. Um, but she talks about like this dopamine. We're all in dopamine like overload. So if you quit, it's kind of like quitting heroin. You're going to be like itchy and irritable or something
Yes.
right
Yeah.
away because your dopamine is all jacked up now. So you have to like, you really have to like have a plan and like, okay, if I'm going to quit social media, then I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to move my body. I'm going to do things. Like you can't just sit there and twiddle your thumbs. You'll go freaking crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of had
Yeah.
to go through a dopamine reset, and now I work for my dopamine. So I have no problem with technology. I listen to long form podcasts. I read books on my Kindle in bed or real ones in real life. I watch documentaries. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I work for the dopamine. I do long form content because that does something different to your brain too. Um,
Mm,
and I think
right.
there's value in searching for something quick, but also anybody can create anything. And so now we're also in an information overload to where it's like, what is good information anymore? I don't know. And
Yeah.
then your average American does not have the discernment or critical thinking skills or spiritual connection to like discern, I think,
It's kind of a
you
hot
know,
mess. Yeah.
basically. Yeah. And
I
I mean, I
mean,
feel like when I talk about it, I think people think I'm crazy, but I'm like, no, I think I think I'm a little bit ahead of the curve. And they're not hiding it from us. They had that special on Netflix. What was it called?
oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. This is it called the
Yeah.
social something
Social
or
Dilemma.
the social dilemma? Yeah, that was like at least what 5 years ago now. I
And
mean,
it
people
was
talked about it that are still on social media all the time, right?
And it
Yeah,
was literally people
out
sitting
there.
in
We
the
know.
C-suite. Yeah, it's out there. And the
Yes.
C-suite people from those companies was who was on that documentary, and they were telling us exactly what they did and why they did it. And the guy who like made Pinterest addicting was like, I don't even have Pinterest on my phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
And I'm
everyone's
like,
like, I don't
really?
let my kids do this, but I created it. It's like, hello.
Hello, it's
Yeah.
not a conspiracy. It's like a real problem. And I think for me, the problem with this is moms. Okay,
Yeah. Let's go
we've,
there.
we've got postpartum depression, which I've done enough research and I had enough experience with it that I think that's a social disease. Like I think it's caused by environment. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
I don't think it's like, oops, your hormones are jacked. But even if your hormones are jacked, that is probably environmental as well. So I think there's just
mhm,
so many factors. You know,
mhm.
it's like it's a little bit of no village, it's a little bit of disconnection with the baby. It's there's so many things going on that
So
can
much there.
cause it. Yeah. So we've got that, and yet we're talking about postpartum depression and anxiety and things on Instagram. But what you should be talking about is that you should probably take an Instagram break. That is one of the most helpful things, probably, is to not doom scroll on like the mom influencer Instagram.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, you're going to see some reel that makes you go, oh my gosh, my kid had a rash like that last week, or they were breathing kind of funny. And it's like, you're putting fear in that you didn't even have.
Right. Yep.
So I just think it's a big problem for moms, and that's separate from the like nervous system overload, the information overload, the pressure to
Yeah.
work, all the things that we've already talked about. I don't know, and so but I'm also sitting in a world where it's like, what an opportunity for people to make money online, and why not? But like, how do you do this now responsibly in a way where it doesn't wreck you? Because I'm not going to spend hours a day on TikTok or Instagram just to try to get you to like my thing and you to like
Oh.
my thing so that I feel better because I got mommy issues or whatever it is. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
I'm now going, I am validated. And if I have something that I want to consciously create and share to legitimately help somebody,
Yes.
but that also is now I'm talking about the inner work that has nothing to do with technology because that could happen in the real world. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Is my ego out here trying to get validation and stuff or create content, whichever one I'm doing? Or am I creating from a conscious place of I have something valuable that I want to help other people with, right?
Oh,
And
so
so,
much inner checking. So much inner
yeah,
checking.
that's where I landed on the motherhood now because I was like, I've always loved the blogging aspect, which is why I've started like 5 different blogs. I just can't stop. Um, but I love writing and I love yoga and I love how my yoga path has shifted because I don't do asana every day anymore. I do very deep. You can't like I can't call it meditation because I don't sit in meditation
Mm.
anymore, but I do that deep inner work that's happening in the moment right now, all the time, every day.
Yeah.
And we,
Mindfulness? Do you want to call it
yeah,
that?
that's the buzzword. That's the buzzword. It's so much deeper than that, but that is what
Sure.
will
Yeah.
birth this. Yeah,
No,
it's
I hear
mindfulness
you.
for
I know.
sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
most people are not capable of mindfulness as it's taught. Like you have to do some really deep work, I think. Some teachers that come to mind are Michael Singer, Eckhart Tolle,
Hmm.
those types of teachings, Power of Now, Untethered Soul.
Yep.
They tie to kind of universal spiritual teachings, and both of them talk about yoga. They talk about Jesus. It's like once you start getting
Yep.
in there, they kind of all say the same thing. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And they're
Yep.
all kind of teaching the same
Yes.
thing. And it's this interconnection with self, true self, and disconnection with the ego, you know?
Mhm. And so it's like, it seems like in your experience with making major boundary shifts on your phone and with social media, you've been able to open yourself up more to that side as a result, right? And then there's
100%.
improvements in your well being as a result. And so the
Yeah.
invitation is for the moms to, if you are aware that there's a problem, if you see the increase in anxiety or, I mean, list of things as a result, look at that resistance. How can this be part of your inner work? Like, what's the invitation that you'd want to ask as we wrap up here, like to leave moms with around this subject? You're not telling them,
Well,
like, do what I did, but it's
no.
like, what's the greater invitation? Because it's all our own choice. And
Well, I think the practical advice is to recognize the fear of leaving. Because I mean, we're talking to people probably who are already thinking about this and maybe interested in taking a break or leaving, right? Or
yeah.
maybe it's coming online for them right now and they're going, oh my God. It's probably never even occurred to them that they don't have to be there. You don't have to be on social media. Those who matter will text you or call you on the phone. You can
It's
send
true.
pictures to the grandparents through Google Photos.
Yeah.
Like, but you have to do a little bit of, it's going to be painful. It's like you have to do a little bit of disconnection to just realize that like reality is better, man. Like reality is good. Because when I stop connecting, like you were talking about checking in with people, it's like, yes, but, or yes, and
Mm-hmm.
can we just like send someone a text or can we call them? Can we set up an actual play date? And like maybe a 1 hour play date once a month is so much more valuable than seeing their Instagram stories every day. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
we're so disconnected from that kind of reality consciousness of like how the world works that I don't think people even realize that like it's going to be okay and it's going to be even better.
Mm-hmm.
You have to just take the leap of faith if you're already thinking about it and recognize that like the validation will come if that's what your problem is. Because my problem was
Yeah.
always like, I need to share, I need to belong, I need to whatever.
Mm.
That'll come in reality. It'll come. I haven't been on social media in a year. I'm still sitting here on podcasts. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this stuff happens, like life happens. I meet people in women's
Yep.
circles. I meet conscious people at the gym. Like
IRL in real life.
IRL. Yeah. And we've forgotten what reality's like. But like if you can find a little like I had a little breastfeeding group that I went to that our midwife collective had set up. And I still talk to some of these moms. One of them has moved all the way to Puerto Rico, but like we still send videos back and forth. And
Sweet.
I've never really followed her on social media. We just
Yeah.
hung out every week. We just hung
Yeah.
out in real life. So it's like if you existed in the 90s, it can be like that, and then you can consciously decide like right now I check my email. I get emails from a couple people that I really like getting their emails and I like
Yep.
reading them. I check I do have Facebook on my laptop. I check
Mm-hmm.
it once or twice a week. There's some
Yeah.
groups I'm really involved in. Some things like are great. They are great. But if it's something you're considering, it's okay. Just
Yeah.
try it.
Try it.
Yeah, just
And
take a
have,
break. Even you have to quit forever. Like quit for a weekend or
right.
something.
And like almost have this, I don't know if the word plan in place makes the most sense, but know what you're saying that you're going to have these withdrawal effects because it's a drug.
Yes.
So instead
Yes.
of like
Yeah.
getting overwhelmed and then going back, know this ahead of time, do your research and just have like a plan in place for yourself that maybe can better
Yeah.
support you in really honoring it. And it does include some intentionality. Like the changes that I've made on and off. I'm constantly navigating it. This is no shade on anyone that's, you know, overdoing it on the app and has wanted to get off and has gotten back on. And it's like it invites more intentionality into your life, and it is possible. Sometimes we go to like, I don't know how to do it. It's too overwhelming. But just open your mind and your heart and get curious and creative. And there's some options. There's more options than I think we give ourselves credit for. So,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah.
And it's like you don't have to quit forever. You could just take them off your phone. I mean, you can do all kinds of different things, but it's like if you find, I know that this has happened to people. You find you're sitting there scrolling, 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 and consciously aware of the toddler going, "Mom, mom, mom, mom,"
I
and
know.
still ignoring them. And I've done
Yep.
that. And all of a sudden I'm like, "What?" And then I'm like, "Oh, it's me. Oh, it's not you. You're literally just being a kid. Hold on." Put
Yep.
the phone down.
Yep. It's humbling.
That's what it is. It's humbling. Yeah. And the one of the best things that worked for me, I always took breaks when I was changing up my routine. So when I was coming down here to visit mother-in-law or going to my parents' house for a month, that's when I would take the break.
Yeah.
Because when you're out of your routine, then it's a little easier.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mm,
it's
yeah.
funny because I'm still navigating it too. I have Motherhood Now on Substack. I have God, I have a gardening blog that's just, oh, it wants to get out. And I'm trying so hard. I'm like, now what I do is like, if I can write like 10 blogs and I have them on my phone, then I'll buy a domain name. You know what I mean? Like then it's like, cause I just have so much stuff coming out of me and I'm doing it at night, like while I'm like next to sleeping babies because, I
Mhm.
don't have intentionally, I don't have protected time. Like during the day, I'm with the kids.
Right.
Like right before this, we've had a rainy day. It's been kind of a tough day because rainy with toddlers is like, we already
Mhm.
colored and we played with blocks and we did this and we kicked each other and we screamed and we cried. And it was
Yep.
like I said, finally Paw Patrol came on, but we made it till about 3 o'clock without any TV.
Oh, she only do so
but
much.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, as they get older, and I plan to homeschool, but my husband, because we work from home, all this, I mean, there might be some space. I don't know. Motherhood Now might have a podcast. My little gardening blog may have a YouTube channel. I don't know, but I still have ways now because I've already set the stage to where I know I don't have to be on my Instagram all day sharing that kind of stuff because now I know how to consciously
Yeah.
share long form content. And if I want, I could even pay somebody to chop that up and share it on Instagram for me over there, you know?
Exactly. I'm navigating all of that right now.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
this is it's a cool talk for business owners too that might mom or
yeah,
not want to move away, but got to get creative.
absolutely.
Um, Thank you for taking us there with this social media conversation. I do know that some of the moms watching could really use just bouncing off the thoughts around what could I do or let me hear another woman's story. So I thought that was really important to bring in our discussion today, and
Yeah,
that you have so much
agree.
more to share there. So I will link the your Substack in the show
Mm.
notes so that people that want to read that post that went viral, all the things about social media and just your heart. I will share it here. As we wrap up, is there a parting thought or a parting message for moms that you want to share, or do you feel complete?
Girl, I'm never complete. I could talk for no, this feels like this was a lovely place to share stories that I hadn't, I feel like we stopped talking about our birth stories too. So it was actually really good to share them again in a place where I am now,
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
thankful for that. And
Mm,
I don't know, there's so much the message that has helped me the most, which is why I'm writing about it on Motherhood Now, is just that there is peace, and not just peace, but like blissful happiness and joy available for everyone in the present moment of mindfulness. And that is so simply put, but so profound and
yep.
difficult to achieve. But I wish that
Mhm,
for mothers
mhm.
more than anybody. And I think as motherhood becomes a spiritual initiation for so many people, and like just walking through those first few years with newborns and lack of sleep and toddlers, like it's like all day, every day are spiritual moments for growth. And I just would invite moms into that world a little bit and also there's some radical personal responsibility there to where it's like nobody can stop you from this either. If you want it, you can have it. You can get it. And you can get it through any religious path or spiritual path, I believe. So if you
Mhm.
have one, I would just encourage you to like flirt with it a little. You know what I mean? Just like, because I've done that. Like,
Yeah.
I've I've been raised in the Christian church since my whole life, and I've, you know, hemmed and hawed with it over the years, and I've studied Eastern spirituality and done a lot of yoga, and it's all kind of meshing together in some weird everything and nothing kind of spirituality that has,
Mm.
that's just very, I don't know, the present moment. And you don't
Yeah.
have to like listen to what anybody in society is saying or doing about motherhood. You can do whatever you want, man. You can turn it all off and do what works for you and your kids. And there are some days where I just do that. And I'm like, we're just going to PJ all day. We're not going to get dressed today. And then there are other days where I'm like, we have a routine and this routine is great. Like, you can just do whatever you want.
Yeah. There's no rules.
There's no rules at all. And if you want advice and help, though, there's Pinterest and that's fine. You know what I mean? So it's just like,
Yep.
but I think more than anything, in order to navigate that, is the interpersonal work that you can do, because it's very hard to say like no to your parents, your mother-in-law, your family, the world. It's very hard to stand in your own when you're breastfeeding a 3.5-year-old and nobody likes that. And you know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
just all of the things, or you're choosing to co-sleep or not, or breastfeed or not, like all of the things.
Yeah. Yep. And social media, turning that down is an easier way to like tune into yourself.
It's like the
And
only way. It's like
and
a major way, I would
yeah,
say. Because
so you
I
can be
don't
like
think,
more rooted.
yeah, I think, again, we could go deep, deep, but I think everything that is on social media, like comment sections and stuff, I think that's everybody's subconscious, because when you go and you look at them and you read them and you say, that person would never say that out loud to my face, right? And it's because these are our subconscious thoughts. Just, it's so
Mhm.
you can't take that stuff at face value anyway. Like, almost everything on the phone is so distorted from reality that it's
Yeah.
like, it literally will distort your ego and just block you from going in within.
Mhm. Yeah. It's crazy because it's still so new, even though,
It is
it's been around a lot of our lives, but not at all.
only 20 years old.
I still am like, I see and feel the effects of it. It's right in front of you. Everyone's on their phone all the time, you know.
100%.
And I still don't think we're grasping the gravity of the effects of it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Unless you're really
I
in
agree.
tune and you know. Like, I
Yeah.
feel it, I sense it. I've seen it in my own life. There's such an allure and a draw, and everyone's doing it, and how so this is just like, hopefully a little like wake up, like, just to
Yeah.
reevaluate your relationship, just like you do with money, like you do with your marriage, like you do with your phone, like
Yeah.
anything. So,
All of it.
all of it. Thanks, Becca. This was awesome.
Yes. Thanks, Beth.
Appreciate you. I really loved our conversation.
Me too. Thanks for having me. This is great.
And I'll link, like I said, to everyone. If you want to connect with Becca, I'll share her information in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the podcast. Mwah.